was pretty early in the morning, but I sent Nikita a message anyway. I didn't get a response and assumed she must have finally gone to sleep. I could check again tonight, and if she was still MIA, I could let security or the campus doctor know she was acting funny. That said, I knew she wouldn't do the same for me.
Nice.
I lazed around in bed for a while until I felt too gross to not shower any longer. Once I was eventually somewhat functional, I decided to work out what to do. I remembered I'd promised to help Heidi again. I was hoping I wouldn't regret signing up to boring junk sorting, but I couldn't help but be intrigued by her side business, whatever it was.
Her side hustle.
And some of the stuff she had might have been cool to look at, even if it was just tech. With last night's encounter with Nikita all but forgotten, I made myself somewhat presentable and headed to town.
Nikita's your future. Prepare for it.
Heidi seemed somewhat surprised to see me.
Good of you to show up, Trixie. Ready for a day of hard work?
She grinned and bundled me into her office. I wasn't ready for a day of hard work, I never am. I was tired after about half an hour. Lifting stuff is a lot of effort. I persevered though, and after a few hours we were pretty much done. I noticed Heidi's shop didn't get much traffic, though with the amount of money her secret stock was worth, I wasn't sure that was an issue.
Oh my god, it's her front business.
I was about to comment on the lack of customers when we heard the shop's front door open. A customer had arrived. Heidi snuck over to the office door and peered through the spy hole.
Of course.
She opened the door and beckoned me into the shop. A familiar face was waiting for us.
Hey, Greg. We were just in the back, not fucking each other or anything. Oh.
She forced the laugh out as she closed the door behind us. Greg giggled. I was a little offended. I don't think I'm really the fucking kind of person, unless it involved monsters. Or Cyberbat Razor, maybe.
Nice. Hi, friends. You're here for those boxes? You bet. Is that still okay? Don't want to cause any trouble if you need them. Nah, take as many as you need. What do you need them for anyway? You making delivery or something? Oh, it's for boxing things. I'm gonna put things in the box.
Greg likes boxing.
His eyes are huge. What the hell, man?
Their eyes flitted back and forth.
I'm boxing the wedding cake I made for those two mice. The cake's going in the box. I thought they delivered that yesterday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. Makes sense.
It certainly did.
Anyway, I better get back and box that cake. See you later, pals. Unless they were delivering something else. But no, I think that's pretty sus.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing?
Everybody's cursed.
Greg, what the hell? Later, dude.
Have a nice time boxing the cake. Greg hurried out of the shop. The cardboard box held above their head. They looked pretty ridiculous.
Okay, Trixie, we got a few things left to go through before we're done. Let's not waste any time.
It took longer than I would like, but we eventually finished sorting for the day. I almost collapsed, exhausted. I was amazed at quite how much junk Heidi had collected. I still really wanted to find out where this stuff came from. For educational reasons, obviously.
That's enough for today. Great work!
She pulled a wad of money from her pocket.
75 pounds, how's that sound?
I could buy a lot of tat with that. Cool. I'd never been paid for a job before, besides the time I got given 10 pounds to throw a rock through someone's window. So that was less a job, and more a paid act of vandalism, like being a soldier.
Oh hey, you like whiskey, Trixie?
Oh, I mean, I haven't tried it. I don't drink often. I'm pretty bad with alcohol.
Whiskey, Trixie? It rhymes.
Besides, I better head back to my room and get some sleep, you know?
Well, feel free to have a bottle anyway. I have tons of this stuff. Think of it as a work benefit.
Oh, sure then. It might be tasty?
Knock yourself out. Literally. I mean, don't. Take it slow. Alcohol, know your limits. Heidi is very intense and I am all about it.
She opened her own bottle and downed half of it. I thanked her and headed home. I drunk the entire bottle within 10 minutes of leaving when my phone rang.
Jesus Christ. Trixie! Something came up. Can you come help me out again?
Fortunately, I'd avoided the whiskey's evil effects so far and was able to answer.
How do you drink an entire bottle of whiskey in 10 minutes?
Have a bad time.
Yeah, okay.
Hi.
Why are you shouting?
Mostly. Sorry, I can be there in a few minutes.
Great, see you then.
I managed to find my way back to Heidi's. It only took about twice as long as it should have. Hi! I kind of fell through the door. I tried to turn into a kind of cool dance move, but I don't think it worked.
Wait, Trixie, are you drunk? Ugh, seriously?
Haha, yup. I tried to do a cool grin, but I'm pretty sure I just looked sleazy.
Great, well you better sober up because it's too late to rearrange this mess now. I need you to go make a delivery for me while I meet my supplier.
I hope it's not drugs. That would be very illegal. I giggled to myself for a bit, apparently finding the concept of drug prohibition hilarious. Heidi just shook her head in despair. I realized I needed to get my act together and managed to brute force sobriety for a while. Sorry, Heidi, I'm okay now. I can totally hand over some drugs for you. Easy. Heidi didn't look wholly impressed with my joke. Apparently, only I find myself funny when I'm drunk.
It's not drugs, it's some of the crap we've been sorting. That stuff has... Well, it has a very specific clientele, and I sell it in alleyways. Look, don't worry about it too much, okay? We don't have time to mess about. Now, there's something else you...
Oh my god.
What?
Okay, so explain again why I'm dressed as a pixie or whatever.
What the fuck is happening? A... pixie? Have you ever seen a pixie before? You don't look anything like that.
I meant goblin. Oops. I giggled to myself for a moment before calming down again.
What the hell is happening? I feel like in the past, 5 minutes, we've taken a sharp left turn here.
I don't know, it all seems pretty much what it's been going for.
Yeah. Everything seems very sus right now. Behave. Now, Trixie, you're no longer Trixie. In this costume, you're Delia Moonbeam, keeper of the...
Delia Moonbeam, keeper of the cosmic secrets. Is this your friggin' Dungeons and Fungeons character, Heidi? I started cackling to myself. Heidi seemed a lot less cool and edgy now. Heidi's face was red with embarrassment, but she quickly regained composure and swatted me lightly around the head.
Hey, shut the fuck up. Delia Moonbeam is my illegal antique book-selling alter ego. That way the weirdos who buy this crap can't recognize me and come stalk me. So don't fuck up and let anyone know who you are, and don't fucking tell anyone about this or I'll fucking end you, okay?
She sounded pretty serious, so I shut up.
Okay, so you're gonna want to use a different voice. I should use a deep, scary one.
I wasn't gonna do that. Talking in a deep voice made me feel like shit.
Oh.
As unhealthy as it might be, I'll always choose to kill my vocal cords and talk how I want to over my normal voice, or worse, an over-the-top deep one. I figured I'd just talk kind of slowly and weird, like a cartoon ghost.
You're headed to the alleyway next to Pound Town.
I'll take you to Pound Town.
Trixie, shut the fuck up. You kids need to learn your alcohol tolerances. Seriously.
I giggled under my breath a little more, but managed to shut up.
Okay. As I was saying, you're heading to the alleyway next to Pound Town. That cheap tat shop 10 minutes from here. Someone will meet you there. You take the payment, you give him the books, then you leave. Got it?
Yeah, I got you.
Jesus Christ, this outfit is just...
amazing.
Yeah.
Spooky voice, don't show my face. My name is Delia Moonbeam. Alleyway, going to Pound Town, give books, get the payment. Easy. Heidi didn't look super convinced, but before she could comment, she glanced at the clock.
Fuck, you're gonna be late if you don't get going. Just don't muck this up for me, Trixie, please. I'll pay you well for it when you're back, I promise.
Heidi handed me 2 wrapped up books and bundled me out of the door with some vague directions to Pound Town. It wasn't too far from the shop, so even in my inebriated state, I got there pretty quickly. I waited around in the dark alleyway, hoping I wasn't late. Just as I was thinking about leaving, I caught sight of movement in the darkness. An odd figure shuffled toward me. They forced themselves towards me on clumsy, rigid legs. They wore a heavy, hooded cloak which shrouded their face in a darkness from which yellow eyes gleamed towards me. Their voice was strange. It rasped every sound and cut out suddenly at the end of each phony. Ooh. Oh, I just realized that there was another L in there. I'm Delilah Moonbeam.
Oh, it's Delilah, not Delia. Okay, well, whatever.
Ooh. The figure's hooded head jerked up and down. I think it was supposed to be a nod. The figure twitched, almost seeming to collapse briefly, before jutting back up. Before I could ask if they were all right, they spoke again.
The payment has discussed.
The figure shakily and judderingly extended a hoofed hand to me.
The hoof can have a spiral on it?
Their arm was covered in matted, dirty wool, parts of which were shedding to reveal what seemed to be deep peck marks. I thought of the abandoned cottage and the clumps of matted wool lying within, shuddered. I thought of the dark stain, bird feathers lost in a scuffle. A coincidence, surely, but still not something that bore thinking about. Despite their arm ending with a hoof, this creature was clearly no cow. It appeared almost sheep-like, though I knew that was impossible. It dropped what appeared to be several pearls and a beautiful sapphire-inlaid circlet into my outstretched hand. The valuable items sparkled in the starlight. I almost thought about stealing them to pay off my student debt, but probably need a few diamonds on top of it to even make a dent in that.
Oh yeah, that it's a real hoot, real gag.
Besides, Heidi had a taser, one which she had neglected to give me for this meeting. Great. I put the treasures into my bag and took out the first package. I gingerly held the package forward, and the matted figure clumsily took it from my hands.
Thank you, friend. And the next.
This matted figure was off-putting. I wanted to get out of here as fast as possible and never see him again. No problem, I spluttered out. I was about to pass them the second package when I felt sick. Drinking that much whiskey had been a mistake. The last thing I needed was to throw up inside that mask. There wasn't anywhere for it to go. I took off the mask and was pleased to find I just needed to burp. I almost yelled, realizing what I'd done. My eyes locked with two yellow pinpricks under the stranger's hood. I could swear I saw a flash of recognition. I quickly put the mask back on, almost dropping it in my panic. Second mask. I wanted to yelp and run, but managed to keep my cool, apparently forgetting to put on a voice in the meantime. Okay, right, so you probably think you got me there, but actually, nope. For you see, I'm wearing two masks, several actually. This, I tapped the mask smugly, was but a first. My face was but a second. I mean, my mask was but a second. It isn't my face. Wasn't. I thought that might have worked and swayed on the spot for a bit. My heart dropped. Under the hood, I saw the glint of a malicious smile, and I knew the strange matted figure had not believed it. I was about to hand over the packages and run, but I freaked out, and next thing I knew I was running down the alleyway, the figure following me with loud stomps of its strange, hard, hoof-like feet. My heart raced. That unnatural creature in the alleyway filled me with dread. Something about their appearance, mannerisms, and even the air around them chilled me to the bone. I threw open the door to Heidi's shop and ran into the office, relieved to see Heidi was already back.
You're back already? Good work, I owe you one. Get that costume off, we can both go get some sleep.
I took the costume off and packed it away like Heidi had asked. I took my time, but I couldn't put it off any longer. So, Heidi, there was a little fuck up, and they saw my face, kinda.
What? You showed your face to them? Are you kidding? I gave you a fucking mask specifically so this wouldn't happen. Do you know how much danger you put us in? You know the people who buy this crap are real psychos, right? Like completely unhinged?
I knew she would be mad, but hearing her sound genuinely afraid surprised me. I
think we tell her the
Yeah.
truth.
Okay, so I explained the entire meeting. Heidi listened and seemed to calm down as I spoke, much to my relief.
I'm sorry for shouting at you, Trixie. I didn't mean to scare you. I have a bit of a temper, and this is serious stuff. Come on, it'll be fine. Let's get you home safe, then we can talk tomorrow when you're feeling better. My motorbike's out front. You can sit in the sidecar. Don't throw up on it, though, because then I'll be pissed. I've got a taser.
For once I appreciated the laugh, but I wasn't sure I could promise that. Before we could leave, the front door swung open and the cool night breeze flooded into the shop.
Good evening, friends.
Heidi seemed to see the worry on my face.
Trixie, is this?
I nodded, still stuck to the spot. I couldn't believe I'd let this happen. Heidi pushed me back and growled through bared teeth as she grabbed her rounder's bat.
What do you want?
The figure jerkily raised their arm and pointed at me.
The rat. The book. Leave Trixie the fuck alone and leave now. The book.
The figure lurched forward.
Wrong move.
Heidi leapt forward and swung the bat as hard as she could. She clearly had a lot of practice. There was a terrible crack as the figure's arm broke. I cringed at the sound, but was shocked to see them continue their advance. Either they didn't notice their arm was fractured or didn't care. Heidi threw her bat to the ground and pulled out her taser. She charged the figure and began wrestling with them, but seemed unable to budge them, as if they were carved from solid stone.
The book. The book. Return. Get out.
Heidi jammed her taser into the cloaked figure's woolen arm, forcing contact between them. The figure pulled away with a start. Heidi fell to the floor in their absence. The wolf Heidi had been tasering had ignited. A small fire spread up the creature's arm. The matted figure flew out of the door with force, as if yanked off stage by a cane. As it was swept out of the shop, I was sure I caught a glimpse of a woolly white face. A creature that should not exist. The shop fell silent.
So I get they're doing the misdirect here. They think it's about the second book we didn't hand over, but really, they want the King in Yellow back.
Yep.
Right?
It was a while before Heidi spoke up.
Trixie, let's get you home. We can talk about this tomorrow, okay?
I nodded. According to Poppygon.com, Cyber Dracul Yuz from Mars was getting a reboot, so that was cool. Cyber Bat Razor had a new design, somehow even hotter than the old one. Irrelevant, sorry again. That was some pretty exciting news. Pretty soon that night took a turn for the worse.
Even more so?
I'd been worrying about the matted figure all night, but I was pretty sure they hadn't followed me and Heidi to uni. Her bike was pretty fast. Besides, I was in a busy accommodation block. They would have to be pretty brave to follow me here. I'd calmed down a bit after eating some snacks. Things were going to be okay, I foolishly thought. Eventually, I managed to get to sleep. Only to be immediately woken up by knocking at my door. If it was Nikita, she'd be shouting abuse at me by now, so who was it? The matted figure?
Trixie, this is important. We need to talk. It's about the King in Yellow.
My blood froze. I'd completely forgotten to check up on Nikita, and by the sound of it, she'd deteriorated somewhat. I shouted a mess of words at her, my half-asleep mouth barely functioning. The knocking stopped. I managed to get my clothes on and opened the door.
Trixie, sit with me.
She took a seat on my bed, the king in yellow clutched in her hands. I was taken aback. Nikita always looked faintly repulsed by my hygiene. She would never normally consider touching any of my stuff. Nikita, are you okay?
Trixie, shut up. I'm fine. Now sit down and listen to me. I already told you this is important.
She didn't look fine. She looked even worse than last time I saw her. I nervously sat down. My eyes were drawn to the closed play. It was only a book, but it seemed to suck the air out of the book. I felt cold, confused, scared.
Trixie, I finished reading it. It says so much. I can't. You need to read it for yourself to understand. It's just so... I can't explain. My head is a maelstrom. But Trixie, my point is I'm in this play. Or I mean, I can tell it's supposed to be me. Trixie, I am the heir to the broken throne. I'm the heir to Carcosa.
I was dumbstruck. What was Nikita on about? She was a character in some old play, the heir to a fictional city? It was madness.
No, this is Sparta. Is that funny again? Is it?
No.
No? Okay.
Nikita, I think you need to sleep. You're not making any sense. How about you wait here and I go get someone
Trixie, you are not going to get me sectioned. Don't you dare accuse me of being sick or mad or... We both know I'm smarter than you, so shut up and listen to me.
Her eyes bore into me with genuine malice. She was scaring me. Let's let the lady talk.
Yeah, yeah, I want to hear her out.
Okay. I'm sorry, Nikita. I'll listen. She stood up, pacing for a moment, the book still in her hands.
Book sounds.
Eventually, she stood over me, trying to look tall. I leaned back a little, hoping if she got what she wanted, she would calm down a little.
I am the heir to Carcosa, Trixie. At first, I didn't believe, but all the signs are there. I've got this. I've had it since I was born.
She pointed at the white freckles on her face.
You recognize them, right? The Hyades, the constellation, the eternal prison of Carcosa.
I gazed at Nikita's face. It was hard to be sure, but her markings were definitely familiar. I'd seen them before in my vision of Carcosa that night in my dreams.
Hanging out down here now.
I see it. I mean, it's hard to tell. I don't know much about stars. That seems to placate Nikita somewhat, but she still seemed pretty unhappy with my lack of
Maybe
certainty.
we could get her to look at our poster.
Ooh.
Woo. Look, Trixie, just read the play. It's not just the markings, there's so much.
I noticed she didn't give any examples. Nikita dragged my desk over to the bed. It screeched across the floor, but I didn't want to stop her. She sat down next to me again and placed the king in yellow on the desk.
Read, please. You'll understand.
I looked down at the play. Ever since I'd first laid eyes on it, the book had been at the back of my mind. I wanted to read it. I carefully reached out and ran my hand across the cover. It was cold. Nice cold book for a summer day.
I feel so bad after learning who was on...
Oh well.
Yeah, oh well. Open it, Trixie. You don't have forever. We don't have a choice. We have to open it.
I wonder if we get a choice if we do less of the stuff. Probably not. A lot of time passed.
Wait, hold on. I want to do some Foley work here.
Initially, I was disinterested. Nikita had obviously been skimping on sleep. A play written over a century ago did not reference her. It could not. Strangely, I remember little to nothing of the play's contents. It seemed to pass through my mind like wind. But while I remember little, in my mind, I still see the black stars hanging in the sky, the rolling clouds breaking against the dread galleys of the Imperial Navy, and the terrible remains of the broken throne. When Nikita saw me finish Act 1, she spoke for the first time since we had opened the play.
Do you see it yet? Do you see me?
No, Nikita, there's never even any mention of an heir or you or anything. It's just, oh geez, I don't even know how to describe it. What is this?
What are you saying? You can't see me? Can't you read? Give it back, you incompetent.
She wrestled me for the book. My desk toppled over in the struggle.
What does she call us? Oh, she calls us a bitch, okay.
I needed the play. It was mine now. Give it to me, Nikita. I realized I'd let go to shout at her. I quickly grabbed it, but it was too late. Nikita shoved me and I tumbled to the floor. As I fell through the air, I caught a glimpse of the first line of the second act. In that moment, I saw only a blur of ink scrawled onto a yellow page. I'm not even sure I truly read it, but it left an imprint in my mind, nevertheless. More than anything else that happened in the next few days. No matter how bad it got. Nothing compared to this. If I could destroy all memories of this year, my new friends, my education, even my transition, I would. For the opening to the second act of The King in Yellow was terrible, unlike anything imaginable. I hit the ground with a thud. My head spun and my vision blurred. A feeling of dread, the likes of which I had never known, hit me like a gunshot. My head felt light, and as I raised my hands to indicate my surrender, they shook as if I was about to faint. What I read with me in that book stays with me even to this day.
And what it was...
And I have no intention to repeat it here, lest rereading it bring me new, more terrible insights. That line changed everything. Nikita was right. The broken throne belonged to her.
You believe me now, don't you, Trixie? Never doubt me again.
Nikita grabbed a pair of crazy scissors off of my desk and brandished them threateningly. I wasn't too worried, they were too bulky and plastic to make a proper weapon, but Nikita was still scaring me.
Now get out of here! I never should have let you read this, you don't deserve it! This is our room.
But this is my room. A small semblance of normality returned to Nikita's face. She seemed to have snapped out of her fury. I needed to use this chance to calm her down.
Interesting. How do we approach this?
How about the election?
Talk about the election?
Yeah.
Do you think she cares about it?
Oh, yeah.
You think I care about student politics?
Not anymore, I guess.
You saw my calling into that page, Trixie. Whether you want to admit it or not, you know I've always known where I was headed. To Carcosa, to the broken throne.
My head hurt at the mention of the Forsaken City. Surely Nikita couldn't truly intend to sit upon its throne.
Look, Trixie, you had your chance to join me as my underling. But it's clear that the decay of this world, its silly parties and fun have ruined you. Have shined as bright as the twin suns. Disappointing.
She took off, running from my room with the play and her weapon. I was left alone on the floor, a trembling mess. I scrambled for the door and managed to lock it, my heart thudding in my chest as my mind tossed and turned like the dread fleet at anchor. I should have been more worried about Nikita. She was clearly a danger to herself and others. But all I could think about was the King in Yellow. I only remember parts of the night that followed. My mind raced almost non-stop. Every now and again I'd fall asleep only to wake up elsewhere in my room. On one occasion I woke up in the middle of the university's courtyard, alone and cold, but thankfully clothed. How I'd gotten through the security on the front desk I don't know. At some point, my phone buzzed. Nikita was messaging me.
Why didn't you believe me, Trixie? You had your chance to serve me at the foot of the broken throne and rule the city of decay. Why did you have to ruin it? The king's tattered hand will guide me me alone through the path you made for me. The twin skulls will guide me, the twin suns, the night that never ends under the pale moon or the black stars on the bleeding sky. This is what I was meant to be. I was always meant to be the ruler I was meant to be. Do not be scared, Trixie. You know this is right. You know this is the way things are supposed to be. You know I'm kind. I will not allow the king to harm you when the gate opens. I promise.
It continued in that manner for a long time, maybe hundreds of messages from Nikita, all completely incomprehensible. She seemed set on sitting upon the broken throne underneath the rotten spire of Carcosa. My phone started buzzing almost non-stop. Similar messages poured through from hundreds of unknown numbers.
Jesus Christ.
I tried to block them, but more and more flooded through. Were these all coming from Nikita? Did she have friends?
No, I don't have friends.
Or was this something far worse? Nikita had a weapon. She was unstable. I thought about how she had spoken earlier that night. It had scared me. I needed help, but who would believe me? I didn't want to burden Heidi with it. She had enough on her plate already, thanks to me. There was the police. I didn't like them, but maybe they were my only hope. I thought back to my argument with Nikita the other day. She was right. They wouldn't care then, and they wouldn't care now. I gave up. This was my problem to deal with alone.
Wait, are we this universe's equivalent of white and privileged? Probably not.
I don't know. Eventually, I managed some small amount of restful sleep, an hour or two at most.
We clearly don't give a lot of money to the university, so I think it's safe to assume they wouldn't help us.
When I awoke, I could remember what happened with Nikita all too well.
I also saw my reassuring poster.
I could
It looks like she's singing, okay? Every time it just looks like she's...
I could remember reading The King in yellow. But after that, nothing. Parts of it seemed to be a dream, or my imagination, or something worse. There was no wall between reality and madness. I couldn't trust anything. But I knew Nikita was dangerous. I knew she was headed to the broken throne. Quite what that meant, I didn't know, but I had to stop her. If Nikita unlocked the white gate of Holly and walked through, what could walk back out? Despite my fatigue, I somehow remembered that I needed to change my estrogen patch today. Desperate to retain some degree of normalcy, I decided to get on top of that. I'd been skimping on my anti-androgen tablets too. No wonder I was a mess. My hormones were all over the place.
Big mood.
I downed one, hoping to keep my testosterone in check. With dark thoughts still swirling in my head, I managed to stagger over to my bathroom mirror. As usual, the edges of my patch were coated in gray gunk. Gross. I peeled the sticky patch off. And as usual, I looked like shit. I needed a hot shower. Maybe it would wash away the storm of thoughts in my mind, along with the gross eye gunk clinging to my face. I spent most of it curled up under the water, the hot water masking my tears. It woke me up, but I didn't feel any better. After the shower, I slapped a new patch on my ear.
That's what it is on her ear. Oh, that's cute.
You're meant to put them below the waist, but I don't want to shave an area for it, so I'm assuming it'll be fine. I haven't died yet.
I thought it was a
figuring
fucking...
out the physiology of furries that have to put on topical patch medication.
I thought it was just like a bandage aesthetic thing. Okay.
I'd gotten a text from campus security. Apparently, the person next door, I think Misty Dartmouth or someone on the museum studies course, had put in a complaint about me. Apparently, I'd been talking to myself all night and scratching the wall. Shame, I liked her, if just because she had a nice name. I looked at the wall. It was true. I'd left some tiny claw marks in them. That was my deposit gone. Maybe I could buy some paint off Heidi and hide them, but right now I had more pressing problems. By the time I was ready to face the world, it was already pretty late. I needed to do something. After last night, the last thing I wanted was to be trapped inside with my mind all day. Heidi probably didn't want me to come down till about 5 as normal. I thought I'd shoot her a message and check. She phoned back.
Hey, I said I don't do messages. I like to be able to shout. Nah.
She grinned scarily. I don't know how I knew that through the phone.
There wasn't any funny business last night, right? After you got home?
I thought it would be best not to bring up the King in Yellow, Nikita, or any other events from last night. No, it was fine, basically.
Plus, we were also drunk the entire night.
True.
How do we know any of that actually happened?
Generally, I find that when I am drunk, I do not begin to hallucinate the events of the King in Yellow.
Well, I mean, yes, but also, I don't think either of us drink an entire bottle of whiskey in 10 minutes. Fine. Basically, you don't sound so sure, Trixie.
Haha, no, I'm okay. I spilt juice on myself and got sticky. It was wild, a real tragedy. I'm really clean now, though, like a baby. Like a baby? I didn't even know what that meant.
Sounds terrible. Hope you're doing okay now, though.
I was glad my anxiety of using phones was overriding my fear. I didn't want to put all the shit with Nikita on Heidi, not when we were already dealing with the matted figure. I'm fine, I'll come down at like 4-ish, yeah?
Sure, I'll just be using a broom to get the crow that lives in the vending machine out all afternoon. They've been pretty loud recently, and I am sick of it. Later, bitch!
What was that about a crow? The line went dead. I fucked about online for a while, desperate not to think too hard about last night. Eventually I ended up at Heidi's. There were a lot of black feathers lying around, the signs of an ancient battle between crow and hyena.
So that's why the feathers are there.
So it's a red herring.
Yep. Hey, Trixie, got here just in time to help me clean up the remains of the cozy, calm crow. Not that the name suited them, the violent fucker.
She nursed some peck marks on her face. Wait, remains? You didn't kill them, right? Heidi flashed her teeth at me.
No, of course not. We just had a disagreement. They got their feathers all ruffled. They're meant to be shop security. They don't let them eat vending machine snacks all day in return for nothing. We weren't exactly much help last night. Can move back in once they promise to peck the eyes out of my enemies. Come on, help me clean this up. That's for security.
We spent the next half an hour picking up an entire bird's worth of feathers. The cozy calm crow was lucky it was so warm out.
Nice work, Trixie. Ready to do some actual work now?
Yeah, I guess. More sorting through ancient treasures?
Arty junk would be more accurate. None of this shit is actually real, remember?
I hoped for Heidi's sake this stuff wasn't real, but after reading The King in Yellow, I wasn't so sure I believed her. So, about last night?
I'm kinda thinking it was a one-off. I gave that creep a pretty nasty seething too with the taser, right? I don't think we have to worry about them. We were just kind of freaked out last night and got worked up. Weirdo was probably just some junkie, you know? We can keep an eye out, but I think we're fine.
I wasn't entirely sure I believed that, but I trusted Heidi's judgment.
Yeah.
She had been in this business longer than me. Oh, sure, that makes sense, I guess. I still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the matted figure than just a weirdo and drugs.
Come on, Trixie, let's get to work.
We got sorting. I remain amazed by quite how much stuff Heidi had hoarded. But if she could sell each thing for as much as the matted figure had handed me yesterday, I didn't blame her. Where do you actually get this stuff from? The magic car boot sale?
I have a supplier. A secret one, you won't meet them. I buy crap from them and then I sell it all. Think of them like a weirdo wholesaler.
I considered asking if Heidi could get a hold of some kind of Nikita calming amulet, but decided I didn't want to go into all of that. We sorted for a little while. Heidi kept checking the time. I think she could tell I noticed and felt the need to explain.
I have moonbeam business to attend to tonight. Some loser wants a book called Where the Strange Things Are by Ilaria Vonenenbor, or some crap.
Moonbeam business? Are you sure that's a good idea after last night?
It'll be fine. I can look after myself. Bad timing, really. Belle's been trying to get me to the bar tonight. She seems pretty desperate for contact whenever I've seen her recently. Told her I have to go. Apologized to the CEO of Crowbar Inc. Just sending the corporation some arson threats. She believed it.
That's an interesting lie.
Hey, that was all true except for the bit about the apology. The corporation took out a restraining order on me instead. I just need an excuse not to be able to go out tonight, you know?
As we sorted through Heidi's stock, I noticed her mask on the desk. When I'd seen it before, I hadn't thought much of it. Perhaps the alcohol had distracted me, but looking at it now, the mask was faintly ominous. The fur on the back of my neck stood on end, and memories of a masquerade in the Imperial Palace floated through my mind. Memories of Casilda. Where'd you get that mask from, Heidi? It looks really expensive. Heidi looked at me quizzically.
No, I made it myself in an afternoon. Smashed up some blades, glued it to an old mask from my theater days, and sprinkled some sequins on it. Looks fucking stupid, sure, but at night with a hood on, it's vaguely spooky. And it stops the kind of weirdos who buy my stuff from recognizing me, so it does the job fine.
Oh. I wasn't sure I believed that. I could see the guilt on Heidi's face. She was lying. I didn't want to push her on it, but something about that mask remained deeply troubling. For in its ruby eye, I could see 1,000 reflections of Carcosa. Heidi's phone rang. She pushed me out of the office and into the shop.
Sorry, Trixie, secret phone call.
The door slammed behind me. I tapped my fingers on the desk until Heidi re-emerged a few minutes later.
Okay, so my supplier is totally fucking me.
Oh, good for you.
No, not like that. But nice. They've rescheduled our meeting again. I need to go meet them tonight, but I already have that other meeting to attend to.
What? Are you sure this isn't, like, trick?
No, my supplier's just useless. Such a floozy. Look, would you be okay with, like, going out and making the sale for me?
Can't I meet the supplier instead? Last time I tried to make a sale for you, it didn't go so great.
My supplier's very secretive. They won't show if I wasn't there. Look, I feel really bad asking you to do this after last night, but it would be really hard to rearrange the meeting with my supplier. I'll give you the taser and the bat. If anything seems off, you just get out of there, right?
Sure, it's okay though. I'm sure I'll be fine. You showed that weirdo who was boss when you broke their arm and set fire to them, right? They won't fuck with Delilah Moonbeam again.
I still like Delia Moonbeam better. I know it's Delilah, but...
I waited in the same spot as yesterday, shivering in the cool night air as I held another wrapped book in my hands. I quickly checked my phone, which I'll admit broke character a little. Whoever I was meeting was late. I was considering leaving when a shadow appeared at the end of the alleyway. They clearly weren't the figure from yesterday. They were probably about half their height and wore a cardboard box on the head with what I hazard to call a scary face that definitely wasn't Greg's face drawn on it. They approached me nervously. Hello, I am Delilah Moonbeam. Ooh. Bah! I screamed as the disguised figure leapt at me, taking me by surprise. I fell against the cold floor and blacked out.
Oops, sorry about that.
I must have woken up a few minutes later. Fortunately, I didn't seem too badly hurt. In fact, I'm pretty certain I just fell asleep because I was tired. Delilah's hood was surprisingly pillow-like. The alley was deserted, but the book was gone. I knew it must have been some kind of lackey for the matted figure. Who knew how many more were out there that might try to hurt me? I had to get back to Heidi now. I could only hope she was already back from her meeting.
Did we get payment? No?
I sprinted through the dark streets. They seemed deserted until I ran up against a group. A group of cloak-wearing strangers, their dark hoods hiding their faces. I screamed. They had been sent by the matted figure. I knew it. I shoved one of them, my weak little arms doing little to push them. I turned and fled the way I had came. I'd need to take a longer route, shake them off my tail. It was a long while before I realized I wasn't being pursued. I kept running anyway. I have no idea how. Usually my legs stop working after about 5 meters. But not this time. I was terrified. I just needed to get back. I burst through the shop door. Heidi was already there, replacing the use-by dates on some tinned food with new stickers. Heidi!
Jeez, Trixie, are you okay? Where were you? Should have been back ages ago.
I had to catch my breath. I was chased. I had to lose the chasers.
You were what? Trixie, what happened? Look, just go get changed. I'll keep an eye out.
I shakily got out of the outfit in the office and returned to Heidi, somewhat calmer. I was attacked again. Someone, the person I met, they jumped me.
No way to know who it is?
They must have been sent by our new friend.
Fucking jeez.
Heidi paced around the room, stopping briefly to beat up a box of pineapple snapples out of sheer anger.
You sure it was them? Or one of their helpers or whatever?
I only now considered that there wasn't actually any proof it was one of the matted figure's helpers. Well, no, I'm not sure. I just assumed. I mean, has this happened before?
Never twice in a row. You're right, this is too weird. It must be related. Fuck's sake.
She continued pacing. I was too shaken to speak.
It's getting out of hand. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. Right, I'm going to implement a eclipse contingency. I'm torching any crap that doesn't look valuable and moving the rest somewhere safe so I can lay low.
I've noticed Heidi seems to use anything as an excuse to torch stuff.
Pack this junk up and burn it tomorrow. Want to lift back to your place again?
I did. I needed to get some sleep. I should have started doing something about Nikita, but I was way too tired. Hopefully my exhaustion would stop me from thinking too hard about the matted figure. And the king in yellow. That night, I dreamt of the basement on Daffodil Lane. I was crumpled on the floor. Blood stained the fur on my side and covered my hands. Through blurry eyes, I could make out Nikita. She was saying something to me, but her voice was too muffled and distorted to make out. She seemed smug, so no change there. After a seemingly endless monologue, she threw her hands skyward, and with a flash of light and a splash of cold cloud spray, a white gate opened at the far end of the room. The white gate to Carcosa. I shivered as the chill rolled off of Lake Holly. After giving me a last pitiful look, Nikita stepped through the gate, leaving me alone in the cold basement. For a moment nothing happened. A strange calm came over me. This wonderful solitude was cut short. For from the white gate emerged the cloaked visage of the king in yellow. Their tattered rags billowed in the increasing wind, floating like the tentacles of some terrible deep-sea creature. They stared ahead before peering down at me with a slow turn of their head, looking right at me, right into me. I blacked out, and when I awoke I found myself elsewhere.
Blacked out in the middle of a dream?
Me and Heidi were hiding in her shop. I wasn't sure why at first, but as I peeked above one of the displays, I saw objects shift and move around the room. A golden mist surrounding them. On the floor laid what seemed to be a cloaked corpse. It took me a moment to recognize the shape of the matted figure. I ducked as a wrench was tossed through the air towards me by the malevolent force that had taken over the shop. I went to say something to Heidi, but before I could open my mouth, she was yanked from her hiding place by some unseen hand and pulled into the shop. I yelled and foolishly ran out of my hiding place, straight into the matted figure. The matted figure lifted their hood, and I closed my eyes. I had no intention of looking upon their impossible face again. Silence. I opened my eyes. I stood in front of a frozen plain dotted with sheep. It seemed to stretch for miles. In the far distance, across leagues of cold snow, stood a great city, its architecture alien and cubic. At first I feared I looked upon Carcosa, but the peaceful sheep and calm weather told me otherwise. Deep in Siberia, I looked upon the legendary city of the star gods. I took a step forward, and the sheep crumbled to ash. With a roar, the ground below me uprooted as the earth exploded outwards. I fell to the side as dirt rained down on me. In the distance, the city erupted into a mass of ash, magma, and earth. The shockwave ripped the ground apart and drew closer and closer. Debris and death plumed hundreds of miles into the sky. The birth of the Dark Age. I plunged back into consciousness and awoke, screaming and shaking.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Eyes darted around my room. I was alone. Everything was as it should be.
Except for my poster that goes, ooh, woo, oh, baby.
I was as exhausted as ever, as was my life now. After last night's dream, I was more intent than ever to simply let my problems slip from my mind.
Big mood.
I was about to message Heidi, but I remembered she would probably prefer I called, so she could yell at me if she felt like it.
Sup, Trixie? How's Trix?
Hey, I was wondering if you wanted me to come down today and give you a hand. You're burning stuff, right? I like burning things a lot, so I'm definitely qualified for that role.
Sorry to disappoint you, little Miss Arsonist, but I'm putting off Eclipse contingency for a day. I've got a court appearance to deal with on the whole arson threat thing I did. Which I guess makes me Little Miss Arsonist. Don't tell anyone I called myself Little Miss. I have a taser.
Oh no, that's a pain. Well, have fun with that, I guess.
Will do. You take care, okay?
Okay, but... Oh. She'd hung up early again. I sighed. With nothing to distract me, there was nothing else for it. I'd have to face up to Nikita. Right on cue, there was a knock at my door.
Trixie Glimmer Smith, open up.
I gulped. Just what I needed. She was knocking pretty loud. Maybe she was planning to break in and kill me with whatever weapon she'd gotten hold of today. I knew the knocking would attract unwanted attention if it continued. I couldn't bring more people into this mess. Nikita was my problem to deal with. I opened the door, accepting my fate.
Trixie, have you seen my cardigan anywhere? As much as I loathe to admit it,
You've been to Daffodil Lane, haven't you, Nikita? I could tell she had. She kept sniffing as if she was dealing with some allergies. Something seemed to click in her, as if she only just remembered what she had been doing all night. Had she totally forgotten about our fight?
Well, you might think that, but I couldn't possibly comment. You think you're pretty smart, don't you, Trixie? But no, I wasn't there, baka.
Look, Nikita, I'm going to stop you. I won't let you hurt yourself, and more importantly, possibly me.
Oh, Trixie, you're far too late from that. I already have the exact position in the intersection between our world and the White Gate. Book reaching other worlds was most illuminating. Midpoint between the 3 standing stones in this country. The cottage on Daffodil Lane. I need only bide my time and wait, and then the throne will be mine.
Wait for...
Silence, wretch! I have already said too much. Suffice to say, my ideals have been vindicated. While you gawped at ghost hentai, I studied in the library. Your fate is of your own making, Trixie. Maybe you should just accept that I've won. I will sit on the throne, not you.
But I don't want to sit on the throne? Nikita, you need to... You're not making sense.
Silence! Silence, silence, silence! You read the king, you read what I have. You know what I speak is gospel. And the throne is mine.
She took off, running back to wherever she came from. Not being hugely athletic, she seemed to run out of breath before the end of the hallway, where she slinked off, panting. At least this had confirmed it. Nikita had a plan. I sighed, realizing it was up to me to stop her. What was it Nikita had said about Daffodil Lane? It sat in the midpoint of the 3 standing stones? Was that true? It didn't sound at all right. I checked out the map on my wall. Nikita was right. The cottage on Daffodil Lane, the place this had all started, was at the direct center of the standing stones. More or less, anyway. Maybe if you accounted for tectonic movement and stuff. But it was close enough. I gasped. Nikita was right. She needed only wait and what? I realized I had no idea what she planned to do with this information. She had mentioned the library. Of course, Nikita was always in the library, so that was no surprise, but perhaps there was a way to stop her, hidden in its thousands of books? It might be my only chance. I had to read books.
No!
I rushed straight to the library. There was no time to lose. It always shut early on a weekend.
No time to lose?
No time to lose.
Nice.
I quickly went through the shelves I thought might be relevant. Myths, local history, literature. I wanted to find the book Nikita had mentioned, Reaching Other Worlds. I'd never heard of it before, but it sounded like it might be of use to me too. Reaching another world was Nikita's aim, after all.
She's trying to get to the Alpha World line.
Huh. I was worried Nikita might have the only copy, but fortunately I was able to find it. I added it to the substantial collection I'd acquired during my search. I dropped my collection down on a secluded desk. Half this stuff didn't seem all that relevant, but it was better to be thorough. Thought I'd better skim the books and work out which I had time for before I actually started reading. I wouldn't have time for all of them. I checked the clock. There was about 6 hours left until the librarians would kick me out.
Too bad that there is no way we can, like, check out books.
That's interesting. We've heard about Reaching Other Worlds. We've heard about the villain elves.
I feel like we want to start with Reaching Other Worlds, since that was the one that was name dropped.
Yeah, let's do that. Reaching Other Worlds seemed to be based on the Dark Age grimoire written by a bird scholar at the tail end of the age. Nikita seemed set on reaching Carcosa. I thought this might help me understand if that was possible, or how she planned on achieving it. It was short, and would only take an hour to read. Should we look at them all?
I feel like we're going to get the opportunity to read a bunch of them.
But my thought is, will it want... When it said maybe look at them before picking which to read?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's look at what all of them are then.
Okay.
The Wilhelm Notes was a collection of notes written by the infamous Grand Inquisitor Wilhelm, traitor to the Inquisition, and supposed author of the original transcript of The King in Yellow. It was a pretty poor translation, and the original text was near incomprehensible to begin with, so despite its short length, reading this would have about 3 hours. Look at another.
Okay. What's in The Great Crusade?
The Great Crusade looked like a rather dry history book. I knew most of this stuff already. I don't know why I picked it up. It was bulky and would probably take 2 hours to read. Okay, so we get an idea of how much time it'll take. That's good.
Yep.
Cursed Play?
Okay.
A Cursed Play, a study of the King in Yellow, seemed to be a thesis of some kind, but it definitely looked relevant. I kind of suck at reading academic texts, so I knew it would probably take 3 hours for me to read, even though it was short. The Rosefield Quarry, Bluefield's mysterious lake, was all about Wilted Rose Lake. It was written in the 80s, a few years before the story of the water snake got popular, so the back of the book didn't reference it. The book would probably only take 2 hours to read.
We heard about the the snake in passing, but it hasn't really been centered on this stuff we've been experiencing.
Yeah. I'd read Cryptids of the South before, but I thought it might be helpful. It wasn't a very long book, so it would probably only take an hour. Bluefield's County Myths seems to be a brief rundown of some local folklore. It's pretty short, so it'll probably only take about an hour to read. Alright, well, we've already established 2 of them that we're interested in. Reaching Other Worlds.
Yep, let's do that.
Let's read it. Reaching Other Worlds. Endless worlds weave and twist through reality, unreality, and...
Do you want me to read the book so your voice can take a break?
Sure.
Don't worry, I got your back.
Oh.
Endless worlds weave and twist through reality, unreality, and the forbidden places between. Only at the points where these strings draw close can one pass through to the other side. A powerful psychic beacon is required to pull the 2 worlds taut and intertwine them for long enough for a crossing. Bleak Wind's Spire is said to be the brightest of these beacons, at least on our world, but in its current ruined state is useless. The carrion crows of the Black Wood of Brennenburg use their own natural psychic influence to shield themselves from the horrors of the Brennenburg succession wars. For the Planewalkers of Abeneth in the ancient times, powerful psychic crystals were most commonly used in pairs. Singularly, they could bind the worlds, but when paired they would nullify each other, preventing others from traveling to or from the area. Said that this is how the Court of Despair remained hidden forever in their Cathedral of Teeth.
I gasped. A librarian shushed me.
Shh.
I knew Nikita wanted to reach Carcosa, but I now realized quite how close she might be. All these materials were easy to acquire, except for the psychic crystals.
Oh no, our friend might be dead. There we go.
Yeah, but I now knew where Tabby's missing crystal was. Nikita had taken it. I always assumed there were phony glass toys, but now... A second crystal would create dissonance with the first. If I could just get hold of one, I could prevent Nikita's ritual from working. I began hurriedly messaging Tabby. Hey Tabby, you there?
Hi, Trix.
You got a spare Psycho Crystal? I have bad energies and it might help me?
XD, you don't need to end everything with a question mark. Yeah, though you can borrow one. My energies are bouncing right now and the moon's eyes staying closed for a while, so I don't need to stop it watching me. I could slide it under your door if you want. I'm going out for a few days to strategize on the Isle of Wight and talk to some sheep friends.
Yes, please. Sorry, Tabby, I better get back to work. Thank you so much. Talk to you when you're back. I put my phone away without checking for a response. There was no time right now, but at least I was making some progress. Things didn't seem as hopeless. I checked the clock. There was about 5 hours left till the librarians would kick me out. I want to read the Wilhelm notes.
Okay.
Wilhelm notes was a collection of notes written by...
Yeah.
All right, we already did this.
So this is going to take up a huge chunk of our time. We ready to commit to this?
Yeah.
Okay. The Wilhelm notes. It began when I led a small number of the first chapter, the Order of Mercy, to that cursed chapel outside of Bluefields town. In the ensuing fight against the cultists of the Yellow Eye, I was wounded, a pitchfork to my side. I stumbled away from the battle, blood staining my purple robes a dark brown, and found myself facing one of the site's many altars. Emblazoned on it, the yellow sign. As I left consciousness, the yellow sign still staring into me, I slipped into somewhere dark. When I first saw Carcosa in its rotting state, I knew I had glimpsed an unimaginable terror. I walked the streets of that city for decades, centuries even. From the top of the Imperial Palace to the deepest depths of the Twilight Quarter, where abominations long forgotten crumbled to dust underneath the perpetual darkness of Lake Halley. It was a city drenched in evil. When at last I returned to consciousness, I awoke in a pile of bodies presumed dead, and I dragged myself away from this terrible place and made my escape into the woods. I would later return with the 4th chapter, the Order of Retribution and Purification, and burn alive each of the cultists. I foolishly believed that this would end the whispers in my head. Still, they continued. Dismayed, I returned to my home and inflicted punishment on myself for this heresy. But when the voices remained, and I gave into my weakness and listened, I finally realized what was being whispered to me, and was filled with a manic intent to lay it into parchment. The words flowed into my mind and onto the page. For 3 days I woke without rest, food, or breath. When finally the manuscript was completed, I bound it in preserved snakeskin, the only remains of that ancient people. I looked upon my work, seeing with my own eyes for the first time. I had written The King in Yellow. Later, a gift was presented to me. The mask of the Pale Servant. One eye looking out to the future, and the other blinded by the first ruby to be mined from the quarry that would become the Twilight Quarter, and forced only to remember the past.
How does Heidi have the mask of the Pale Servant?
How does she have that? A white, china-like mask inlaid with gold, mined from the great moon of Carcosa. It was terrible to behold, for I knew who had delivered it to me. Whispers from the king tell me that they who possess the mask are blessed to walk his path and claim the broken throne for themselves. The mask was lost to me, stolen. Mercy on the wretch who finds it.
I thought of Heidi's mask. I would need to see it in person again to be sure, but the description was certainly familiar. I checked the clock. There was about 2 hours left until the librarians would kick me out.
What? So I'm guessing that some of these would be more useful to us if we had taken other routes and learned different information. Right? That's probably how, because, games.
Probably so.
That said, the only thing that seems directly helpful to us right now, maybe a further study of the King in Yellow? Like, we haven't found anything relating to the Great Crusade. We only have barely any connection to the snake myth.
Mm-hmm.
Although the book is made of snakeskin.
That's true. The book is made of snakeskin, and we also know about quarrying for rubies in the area.
You're right, and that was referenced in the... How long is this one?
Probably 2 hours.
I vote we read this one.
Sure.
Rosefield Quarry. Bluefield's mysterious lake. Once the largest quarry in the south, Rosefield Quarry supplied copper to the whole world and even beyond during the moon landing. In 1965, drilling began at the bottom of the quarry to test for natural gases. Borehole R12 was planned to be several kilometers deep. Shortly before the borehole could be completed, what appears to have been an industrial accident caused the previously rerouted Ash River to return to its previous course, directly into the quarry. The fast-moving river quickly washed away much of the east side of the quarry, making escape from the bottom of the basin impossible. The quarry's communication equipment was destroyed, preventing any calls to the authorities for several hours. The residents of Rosefield Village were awoken by the sound of cascading water and emerged from their houses to find a vast, black lake where once the pit was. The sudden flooding of the quarry remains the greatest tragedy in modern Blue Hill history. Almost 100 workers drowned and many tons of machinery was trapped underneath the water. Toxic industrial chemicals and gas from the recently opened borehole leaked into the water, making it impossible to dive in. The combination of these chemicals appears to be what has given the lake its dark appearance, and is responsible for the death of the rose fields surrounding it. While officially, the disaster was caused by improperly built rerouting dams, some have suggested the flooding may have been intentional. There is little to support this claim. The local village, Rosefield, was also abandoned shortly after. The same chemical and gas leaks which gave the lake its dark appearance appeared to be causing health issues in the community. Dozens of residents reported deteriorating mental health after the incident, sickness, and exhaustion. Within 2 years, the village was empty, with the local council rehoming its residents across the country. Urban explorers often break into the now fenced-off village to earn street cred. These explorers often go missing, presumably falling into the water in a confused, hallucinogenic state, similar to the symptoms seen in villagers shortly before the evacuation. Few survivors made it out from inside the quarry, and those who did were near rabid. Doctors suggested that this was a mixture of trauma and extreme proximity to the gas leak. Most would never recover from their crazed state in the next decade. One would go on to become one of the leading Rosefield truthers and support the claim that the flooding was intentional and ordered. Strangely, he also maintained that this was the right decision.
Interesting. It was an interesting read, but not hugely helpful.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of went for that one on a lark, but...
I realized I'd run out of time. I quickly put the books away and left.
You know, rather than borrowing anything from the library. Ooh.
I ended up back at my room. I just needed to sleep. This week was killing me. When was the last time I'd slept properly? I walked through my door and almost tripped over something. There was a little velvet bag on the floor. Someone had slid it under my door. Oh great, has Nikita been sneaking anthrax into my room or something? I nervously picked up the bag and was relieved to feel a hard crystal inside. This must have been Tabby's Psyker crystal. Oh, thank you, Tabby. You're a lifesaver, possibly literally. I carefully put the crystal into my bag. It might be the only thing that could help me. I was going to have some noodles to eat, but I couldn't get the packet open without scissors thanks to my weak little arms.
Noodle arms!
I remembered Nikita had stolen my scissors, putting a stop to my noodle meal. Not her worst crime so far, but probably her most annoying.
And for that, the crime that she will die.
In the end, I had to just eat crisps. This week was really taking its toll on my diet. I needed time to digest what I had read. I was too tired to do anything practical to deal with Nikita tonight. No doubt she was slinking around the university or holed up in her room plotting. That night, there were no dreams. There was only darkness. I woke up as tired as ever, and wanted to check the internet for news, convinced I'd find a photograph of a disheveled Nikita being bundled into a police van after committing some atrocity in the name of the broken throne. Before I could switch my laptop on, something strange caught my eye. On my bedroom wall was a scribbled pencil drawing of what seemed to be Nikita.
What?
Above her, two floating skulls surrounded by a cloud. Had I drawn this? My room didn't look like it had been broken into, and it was my art style, not that I have one. I realized I was getting dangerously unhinged. I had to stop Nikita. Only then could I start to recover. Fortunately, it looked like Nikita hadn't been arrested for any terrible crimes. Unfortunately, this meant she was still my problem alone. Yesterday, Nikita had, well, not admitted to being a Daffodil Lane, but it was fairly obvious she had been. I was pretty sure she wanted to open a portal to the White Gate of Holly in that cursed basement. I needed to know if she had done anything there. Maybe I could find a way to stop her. I ate some sugar flakes and got ready for another long walk to Daffodil Lane.
Nikita is your future. Prepare for it.
I arrived at Daffodil Lane, only to be greeted by a loud caw, that mangy magpie again. Caw sounded like it came from near the creepy cottage, as if it was calling for me. I tried to spot the magpie, but they were nowhere to be seen.
Hi, Trixie!
Fuck!
I don't remember what voice I gave him. It's been hours.
I spun around and screamed. Directly behind me, less than half a meter away, stood Parsnip.
Oh no, please no bad words. This is a no bully zone.
Oh, I just realized something. The skulls were talking about betrayal by the rabbit. It's Parsnip. Parsnip was their cultist.
Oh wow.
Before someone stole the king in yellow.
Oh wow.
Sorry, Parsnip, you just scared me is all. I didn't expect you to be stood directly behind me like that.
No one ever does. I'm very quiet.
I couldn't help but feel slightly creeped out by that. Turned around to look for the magpie. I was sure I could feel their beady white eyes locked on me, but they were nowhere to be seen. Reluctantly, I turned back to Parsnip. He was grinning excitedly, and I noticed he had a picnic basket with him.
A picnic basket. Oh.
What's with the
I'm having a picnic! Would you like to come, friend?
I was kind of hungry, but I felt like I should probably get on with stopping Nikita. If we hang out, we're totally gonna find out more cursed shit.
Do you want to find out more cursed shit?
I don't know, do we?
You're the one that's driving this one.
False. One of us is holding the mouse, and it's not me.
You've made all the decisions up to this point. You gotta continue.
Let's hang out. Yeah, I guess I can hang out for a little while.
Maybe we should start like flipping a coin before we start these games, so that way we have to determine which one of us is in charge. Yay, oh wow! I'm so excited! Let's go ask Rosie if she would like to come too!
Oh, okay. I can't be too long, though. I'm pretty bit...
All day picnic, all day picnic!
He skipped off to La Rosa's cottage. I started to regret agreeing to this, but followed along behind him. I eventually caught up to Parsnip. He was knocking at La Rosa's door and bouncing excitedly. I saw La Rose peering out of the window between a crack in the curtains, before receding back into the darkness of her cottage. I got the impression she didn't want to be involved. Not hugely surprising, given Parsnip's apparent break-in. I don't think La Rose is home, Parsnip. Maybe we should get going? There was a loud crash from inside.
Fuck's sake! Fucking easel cunt! If you're not going to stay standing up, then why even live?
I hear the distinctive sound of an easel being snapped in half. I think it was an easel being snapped in half. I'm not sure what gave me that impression.
You're right, I don't think she's in!
I was starting to doubt how much Parsnip existed in our plane of reality.
I guess it's just you and me, friend!
He pulled a friendship yarn out of his bag and waved it at me.
You still have yours, right? Right?
We do. I rummaged through my stuff and pulled out the yarn. It was slightly worse for wear after a few days in my bag, but Parsnip's face lit up nevertheless when I gently wiggled it. I'd never throw away this present.
Yay, oh yay! What a great friendship!
I was glad to have defused the situation. I didn't want to get on Parsnip's bad side. He seemed slightly unstable.
Let's get on with our picnic. Follow me to the wheat field, friend. Oh, my bunny brain trembles.
The wheat field wasn't a great spot, given that the wheat hadn't been cut, but it was at least somewhat shady in between the crops. Parsnip had giggled as he trampled through the field to the picnic spot. He seemed to find running through the field of wheat strangely naughty. Parsnip started to unpack his picnic hamper. I have to admit I was slightly dreading what he might pull out. To my surprise, what he did get out looked really good. A tray of cupcakes, each decorated with different colored icing and sprinkles. A few even had chocolate chips and flakes in them. Things were looking up. Got a pitcher of water out of the basket. Somehow it hadn't spilled inside, despite being sideways and having no lid, possibly defying the laws of physics. He poured the water into a pair of plastic cups and handed me a red one.
It's made out of my body fluids.
I thanked him and took a sip. The water was surprisingly nice and very cold.
I'm kind of mixing his character up now.
I thought this might turn out to be nice after all. I thought I'd soon come to regret. At this point, Parsnip got a bag of Sugar Daddy icing sugar out of his hamper and poured a good 100 grams into his cup. The sugar partially dissolved into the water, but most of it settled at the bottom of the cup. I grimaced at the thought of drinking it.
Would you like some sugar?
No, that's okay, Parsnip. Thanks for the offer.
Then try some cake.
I looked at the cupcakes. There were about 10 on a shared plate. They had different colored icing and decorations. They looked pretty nice, if a little sickly. That said, something about them felt off.
I don't think we eat this.
Yeah. Oh no, I just realized I have a disease. I can't eat food.
Oh no, when I'm sick, I just eat more sugar. It's a natural remedy.
Sorry, bud, I have food disease. If I eat food, I'll die.
I didn't realize our excuse was going to be so bad.
It's just one of those things.
Oh no, well maybe when you get better from dying, you can try some.
Parsnip was more dense than I realized. I'll keep that in mind, Parsnip. Maybe I'll have some in the future.
Yeah, you can watch me eat.
Oh geez, I thought. I watched Parsnip start to nibble tiny bits off the other cakes and then put them back on the shared plate. He didn't seem to have taken in anything I had said. He would cycle through the cakes, eating only little bits of each at a time. Occasionally, he would take a sip of sugar water by clumsily holding the plastic cup between his big paws, usually spilling some of the sticky water on himself. He didn't seem to mind.
I regret going on this picnic.
I watched Parsnip nibble on his food in silence until he finished, at which point he fell over backwards asleep. Good night, Parsnip. Something was bothering me about Parsnip. He felt fundamentally wrong. I looked down at Parsnip once more. The rabbit's strange mannerisms and aura filled me with discomfort. I remembered when I first met Parsnip, he had appeared from nowhere, as if summoned to me from the void. I had asked him about the king in yellow. There had been no denial, merely a gleeful cry of, "Wow, I love yellow! Oh wow, it's my favorite color!" I broke out into a sweat. A confession, I knew it. I'd been being toyed with all along. That cursed string Parsnip had given me all those days ago. I pulled it out of my bag and threaded it through itself into an intricate but all too familiar shape. The yellow sign. This was a gift to me from the king, or perhaps a warning or a curse. I shuddered in fear and quickly pushed the terrible sign back into my bag. I would have to think about this further. I buried the thoughts in my mind. I snuck away, only to run straight into LaRose. Ah! Fuck, how long have you been there?
We need to talk.
It was an incredibly ominous conversation starter. Oh, okay, here? I peered down at the snoozing Parsnip. Judging by his sniffing nose and munching noises, he was dreaming about food.
My place.
She started walking off. It sounded serious. What if we need to know?
You want to go with her?
Yeah. I silently followed LaRose to her cottage. Things felt really intense. Did she know what I knew about Parsnip?
So Parsnip has given you one of those strings too, then?
How long had she been watching us? Wait, is that what this is about?
Kinda.
There was a long silence while my brain tried to process things. It's just, you seemed pretty intense. I was kind of worried.
I mean, well, it is important. A bit. The yarn.
Do you have one as well?
I have at least 20. When I woke up this morning, there were 3 poking through my letterbox.
I was concerned for her. To receive one of the cursed gifts from the King in Yellow was bad enough, but 20? LaRose seemed to live in blissful ignorance of their true evil, at least. I decided it was kinder to let her stay that way.
Considering using them to tie a makeshift noose.
Haha. Wait, was that a joke?
Sure. So far, all I've been able to do is hoover them up and burn the bags. Like my students, Parsnip is not receptive of criticism. So anyway, I wanted to ask for your help. I really need to get rid of Parsnip. So I was wondering...
Are you trying to get me to kill Parsnip? He's weird, sure, but that's a little much, don't you think?
What? No, don't be ridiculous, no. Just gonna ask if you, I don't know, throw him in a bush and tell him to leave me alone.
I stared at LaRose, slightly dumbfounded. You want me to assault him?
What?
I continued to stare at her dumbfounded.
Not badly. You've spoken to him, right? Just push him into a bush really carefully. Be like, hey, leave LaRose alone or the boys will get you. And that should be enough to spook him.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Look, living next door to Parsnip is slowly killing me. I used to drink 30, maybe 40 units of alcohol a day. Now I'm up to maybe 60. Look, will you just give it a go? Can't live like this much longer. Okay, I think we've dallied enough. This is clearly getting us nowhere.
Sorry, LaRose, but I'm not gonna push your neighbor into a bush. He'll get bored soon, I'm sure.
Well, I'm disappointed.
She sighed.
Well, thanks anyway. I better get painting. I'll see you around.
Felt a little bad abandoning LaRose to her fate, but pushing Parsnip over seemed a little too mean even for my morally bankrupt self. Or perhaps I feared him. I was still trying to process his connection to Carcosa.
There are so many different angles of which we are only getting the barest taste of.
Yeah.
I feel like this game definitely warrants a replay.
Yeah. To the king in yellow. I decided I'd been fucking around for too long and reluctantly got on with my business. I stood in front of the abandoned cottage. The gateway to Carcosa. I needed to make sure Nikita hadn't done anything here. This cottage might be the only place I could stop her. The upstairs seemed pretty much as I'd left it. I knew I was going to have to go downstairs. Not a fun thought. Memories of my last visit still swarm in my mind fuzz. It was time to accept my fate and return to the basement where this all started. Skulls sat in the same position as before. I almost started to believe I had really had imagined them speaking to me. But before I could step any further into the room, they snapped around to face me, and my heart sunk as I realized returning here was a mistake.
Another guest, the little rat returns. Hello, friend.
I was frozen, whether by shock or by the ghost design, I didn't know.
I don't know. Out of everyone we've met so far, the skulls seem to be the chillest. They're at least really upfront about what they're about, you know?
Please, I'm not here to...
Your friend, yes. The deer was here, searching for a gate she found. Already present the yellow sign creator I am. Forever, never to be removed, no matter how much I tear at its paint. The gate is present and needs only a key. No more preparations are needed, only the moonlight of a full moon. If what the deer says is true, believable claim for I too require tonight's white light. Unite, broken body no more. If the deer speaks true, then endless ashen terrors crawling forth from the lake. The wrapped, pointed fingers of the king leading them. The decay will spread, the rot.
Then I was too late to prevent Nikita performing her ritual. It would be up to me in person, a battle I would probably lose. I spent a lot of time studying the moon. It was pretty important to a lot of myths, especially around here. I knew very well that the next full moon was tomorrow. Okay, well that's all I need to know, so I'll just be out of your scalp bone. I started to run from the basement, but...
Leave not, little white rat.
I stopped in my tracks, and not by choice. A golden glow clung to my body, holding me totally still.
Moonbeam, Heidi, Trixie Glimmer, Smith, all one. You will return what you stole.
My blood froze. This ghost knew about me and Heidi. It knew about Moonbeam? I had robbed it. I remember that night in the alley. The golden eyes of the matted figure. I remembered that glint of recognition when the figure had laid eyes on my face. You?
The grimoire. The shop, return there, finish our deal, or the hyena will perish.
The skulls shattered into dust. Any evidence of their existence turned to a fine bone powder that joined the spores and dust in their toxic dance.
What?
I was thrown to the ground as the gold mist floated out of the basement like snow in a breeze.
That's right, because we ran off without handing them their second book, right?
Yeah.
We tried to, but...
I climbed to my feet, my head ringing. I must have hit it when I fell. I made my way outside and caught my breath. There was no time for anything else. Right now, I had to help Heidi. I tried to phone her, but there was no answer. It looked like I was going to have to run all the way to town. The windows of Heidi's shop were blinded, and its sign read closed. Someone didn't want intruders. My heart dropped. Was I too late? Summoning all my courage, I burst inside. Heidi! Oh, shit. I was too late. Heidi had been pinned to the spot, and her weapons were discarded on the floor. The shop gently shook with the same force that had infested the abandoned cottage on Daffodil Lane. It looked like the boxes from the office had been pulled into the shop. Items were thrown from them as if the ghost was searching for something. On the floor lay the lifeless, matted figure, their bodies still hidden beneath their thick cloak even.
Trixie, get out of here! The white one arrives, the paler rat. Thank you, friend. Placate your associate in me, and all shall be fine.
I was terrified. This had gotten out of hand. Heidi, calm down. They need our help, then they'll leave us alone. They promised. I wasn't sure if I believed them, but it was my only way out. Please, put her down. She'll behave. Right, Heidi? I gulped. She looked pissed.
Fine. Very well behaved, little hyena.
Heidi dropped to the floor as the golden glow pulled away from her. Her bat and taser lifted into the air, as if yanked up on strings. Heidi's weapons were thrown into the air. The bat splintered, scattering shards of wood all across the shop, as the taser seemingly imploded and fell to the floor with a dull thud.
The deal, rat. The book stolen by you. The book, the spell, the body reunite.
The voice boomed into my head. I don't know what you mean.
The book I sent you out with the other night, the one you didn't give them. Some old spell book supposedly written by the Salt Sisters. It's in one of the boxes.
Okay, Heidi, you just stay there and I'll find it. I rummaged through one of the boxes. There were a lot of books, but none seemed to be by the Salt Sisters. I could feel the invisible eyes of the ghostly entity burn into me like hot coals as I fumbled through the junk.
Hurry, do not waste time, rat.
Look, I'm trying, okay? Heidi, you didn't really organize this stuff well.
That's because I was going to burn it.
Sorry, it's just... It might have helped right now is all.
Not really time for you to be bitching about my organization, missy. Do not pick her the mask. Find it, small rat. Small white rat.
I don't even know what it looks like.
It's black and old.
Fortunately, there was only one book in amongst the scattered artifacts that fit that description. Oh, okay, here it is. My fingers trembled as I picked up the book. The Grimoire of the Salt Sisters. It looked old enough to be the original and radiated malevolence from its crumbling pages.
Yes, the book, the forbidden words, the sisters, the body reunite.
I don't know what it is you want. This book is so long and Before I could finish, the golden mists of the ghost plucked the book from my hands and flicked through the pages impossibly fast. The pages stopped turning. The voice boomed louder than before.
The spell, cast the body, do it now, do it now.
The shop seemed to shake with each word. A Cyber Dracula plushie burst in a shower of wool and lead. The sound of cans imploding boomed from inside the vending machine.
Speak it now, 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 speak it now.
The voice repeated into my head, drumming the orders into me as my mind began to cloud once more. The page seemed to list the words to some terrible spell. I dare not write them here. I read them aloud, trying as hard as I could not to understood what I said. With each word, my mind ached. Stories always talk about the price for performing magic, and I could see now it was no lie. I can only hope my actions that day do not cost me my soul, if indeed I still have one. As the last words of the spell left my lips, the shop began to violently shake.
Trixie, get back!
Heidi pulled me to her, and we ducked behind the shop counter. I could see in her eyes that after hearing that dark spell from me, Heidi felt afraid of me, even if she hid it. The room pulsed with golden light. I shut my eyes, but that was not enough to keep the gold from seeping in. Whispers filled my mind, The regal speech of Carcosa, descriptions of a forgotten era, and inklings of forbidden knowledge. Threats against a nameless enemy. Fear. The matted figure's tormented mind. Then, as suddenly as the process had begun, it was over. The room was silent, the golden light was absent. Is it over?
Look, I'll look. Stay still.
I was glad Heidi had volunteered. I dreaded to think what we might see. Heidi didn't say anything. Whether that was good or bad, I wasn't sure, but I decided to look. In the center of the room, standing with their own muscles and smiling at us with a wicked grin, stood the matted figure.
Ah, my friends, you have been most useful. The bargain is complete.
The figure began to leave the shop, walking clumsily on their weak legs.
And you aren't coming back?
The figure paused, their back to us. They looked over their shoulders, straight into Heidi's eyes.
You have my word.
Before either of us could respond, the figure stumbled out of the shop. Heidi sighed and patted me on the shoulder.
You okay, Trixie?
I wasn't. I knew what walked underneath that cloak. Even imagining it was enough to make me shiver. To look upon the warped face of a sheep was an awful thought. How could such a creature have come to exist? And yet I knew that it was as natural as I. Which begged the question, why were no other sheep like it? I shook the thoughts from my head. I just wanted this to be over. Yeah, I'm fine. Heidi looked at the mess of books, amulets, and other tat thrown across the room with a sigh. That was a week of organizing down the drain.
So, I guess I need to clean this up. It all kind of lost its charm now that I know some of it actually has evil incarnate. You okay to help me? We can burn it!
I checked the time. It would be a little bit longer till the moon was out. I can help for a bit, sure. I don't really fancy going outside yet anyway. I'd rather give that person more time to get as far away as possible.
For sure. Come on, let's get this stuff packed up and flammable.
We started rooting through the mess. It was a lot easier to sort through it now that it all just went straight into the burning box. Sorry for, ruining everything for you, Heidi. I fucked up pretty badly.
Hey, now it's not your fault. I shouldn't have gotten you involved in this weird stuff. Heck, I shouldn't have gotten myself involved in this weird stuff. I think it's time I go straight-laced and start running this shop properly.
Really? Heidi thought for a moment.
Fuck no, I'm burning it all down. Nah. Probably just sell it and get a job as a bouncer. A really violent bouncer.
I wasn't sure if she was joking or not.
How do you fancy free entry to whatever club I work at?
I think I'll pass on that. Thanks, though. What about your Moonbeam stuff? Will you keep that for your Dungeons and Fungeons game? She picked the mask of Delilah Moonbeam up off the floor.
Ah, heck, I can't burn this. It's kind of special to me.
She started packing it away into the keep box. Hey, Heidi? I know it's a big ask after all my fuck-ups, but do you think I could maybe have the mask? Heidi looked at the mask.
Sure, Trixie. It's a present, okay? To make up for all the times I yelled at you and stuff. You can wear it to your graduation and totally prank everyone.
We fixed up the shop for a while. It was a real mess. At some point, I realized everything that had happened had made me completely forget Nikita. I glanced out the window. The full moon hung low in the sky. I knew Nikita would be headed for Daffodil Lane soon. Maybe she was already there. Felt bad leaving Heidi. If it wasn't for the pit in my stomach I got when I imagined Nikita, intentionally or not, releasing the horrors of Carcosa into our world, I would have gladly stayed. Hey, Heidi, I have to go do something. Will you be okay here by yourself?
Huh? You need to do something? At midnight after what we just saw? What's that important? Is everything okay, Trixie?
Yes, it's fine. It's just something important. I need help out with my friend. She's in trouble is all.
Yeah, I mean, you help me, right? Maybe I can help you help them.
I wanted to say yes. With Heidi there, maybe I could stop Nikita. And yet I couldn't let myself be weak and bring her along. I couldn't be a coward and drag Heidi into something worse than what she had already experienced because of me. No, this was something I had to do alone. No, Heidi. It's okay. It's nothing serious. It's just a private thing, you know? Uni stuff.
Yeah? Nothing I can do?
Well, a lift to Daffodil Lane might be nice. The lane was quiet. It looked like Nikita hadn't opened the gate. Yet, at least.
Here good?
Totally. Thank you, Heidi. And thank you for, being my friend and stuff. Despite everything that happened, I've really liked hanging out with you.
Yeah, it's been fun. But hey, it's not like you're going anywhere. I'll see you tomorrow, right?
I wasn't sure. I'm sure.
I love that gag so much. Oh, the gag of internal narration. I was not thing. Saying aloud, I was thing.
You should get to bed or whatever you do at night. I'll be okay here. I just gotta go help my friend.
Yeah? I'll see you tomorrow then, bud. You have a good night, okay, Trixie?
See ya, Heidi. I waved her off as her motorcycle sped back towards town. I hope this wouldn't be the last time I saw her.
Hey, you where Trixie and Heidi just play Dungeons and Dragons for a week.
Yeah.
And then Lovecraftian things happen at the very last day and they know nothing about it or how to stop it. And it's just like, well...
I walked down Daffodil Lane towards the abandoned cottage. It must have been about 1 or 2 in the morning. I feared I was too late, but there didn't seem to be any sign that Nikita had been successful. I walked past Parsnip's cottage. It was quiet. He was probably tucked up in bed asleep or whatever he does at night.
Whatever crazy fuckers like him do.
Of course, I knew his secret. Parsnip was corrupted, a puppet of the king in yellow. I knew that if I could stop Nikita, destroy that evil play and the terrible yellow signs he had forced that rabbit to create, Parsnip would be free from his enslavement. I could save him.
Nah.
The abandoned cottage seemed unchanged. Could it be that Nikita hadn't come? My hopes were shattered when I stepped inside. I could hear murmuring from the basement. Nikita was here. Surrounded by candles, she stood upon the yellow sign. She faced away from me, chanting to herself. I think she was trying to repeat some kind of incantation, but she kept tripping up on her words and losing her place. A small crystal sat in the center of the yellow sign, shimmering faintly in the candlelight. I had to talk her out of this madness. I knew I was too weak to fight her after the night's events so far, and I'm pretty sure Nikita is more violent than she looks.
Yep.
Nikita.
Oh, Trixie. I'm surprised you dared show your furry little face here. I assume you'd be in your room drawing bad hentai or something. I have to say I'm impressed. I almost admire your dedication to annoying me. But you're too late. The ritual was in progress. I walk across the cloud waves to my destiny.
Right now you're just kind of stood there.
Okay, but soon I shall walk across the cloud waves to my destiny. It's not like you're gonna stop me. By all means, stay and watch my ascension or fuck off. I don't care. Just, I need to wait a little longer is all.
Was Nikita wrong? She seemed confused somehow. Her ritual didn't seem to be going to plan. The candles had almost melted to their bases. How long had she been there? Oh, stolen candles. Remember where we heard about that?
Where'd we hear about stolen?
What did Parsnip steal when he burglarized LaRosa's home?
That's what it was.
Nikita, stop! The ritual isn't working. You won't get through your gate. How about you come back to uni with me and we can talk this out?
No! I will not forfeit my birthright because of your little lies. I will succeed. It's just taking a little longer than it should. I need to prove to the king. I need to show him my faith has not faltered. The one who sits on the broken throne cannot be weak. They cannot be unsure. Maybe I made a mistake. The candle placement must be wrong, or maybe my pronunciation is off.
She started flicking through her notepad, desperation building on her face. I was starting to doubt Nikita. I had expected her to summon up a portal of shimmering cloud and step through to her destiny. Instead, she just seemed utterly broken. Deranged. Maybe you're wrong? About the ritual, about the throne. About that play.
Trixie, shut up. I know what's wrong. The one external variable. It's you! This test, I must prove myself, my loyalty. Well, I will not break. I swear to you're my king. From upon the broken throne I shall call forth the dread fleet, the ashen hordes of the Twilight Quarter and the Iron Watchmen. I shall set them on Trixie and crush her. And now, my king, will you bring me the White Gate?
She was serious. The malevolence in her voice was enough to kill any doubt I had that these were the words of a mad woman. Nikita had to be stopped. This ritual could not be completed. I remembered the things I'd brought with me. They might be the only way to end this without a fight, which I was pretty sure I'd lose, or with Nikita winning, which I'm pretty sure would end with me dead. Sorry, Nikita, but it's too late. I've seen it all. I know you haven't been chosen. I tried to sound at least somewhat sure of myself. Nikita looked pissed.
That's real cute, Trixie. You finally learned how to stand up for yourself. But surely you realized the smart move was to know your place and be my underling.
I think I'm okay without that, actually. I was gifted with something you were not. I held the yellow sign high above my head. Nikita smirked.
Really, Trixie? The yellow sign? Look around you!
She lifted her arms and spun on the spot.
The world is covered in the sign. The king is everywhere. He owns us.
She was right. He was everywhere. But I didn't let it dissuade me.
And he chose me.
And yet his servant gave me this, before you had even read his play. You were never graced with his sign. You just found those left for others. Nikita looked almost taken aback. He chose me, Nikita.
No. He cursed you with it.
Maybe she was right. I certainly wasn't happy to have received the yellow sign. But I could see Nikita was cracking somewhat.
Now, shut up and tremble in your pathetic little boots as I complete my ritual.
Nikita threw her arms into the air. Nothing happened. I might know why your portal isn't opening. I pulled Tabby's Psyker crystal from my bag. It shimmered with ancient magic. Nikita's crystal was nullified.
What? Another crystal? This is a trick. What are you playing at, Smith?
2 Psyker crystals in close proximity, well, they neutralize each other, right? You didn't know that?
I know. This is a trick. You're trying to trick me, Trixie. I won't fall for your Trixie. Tricks. I won't fall for your
She stopped abruptly. She knew I was telling the truth. I guess I have an honest face.
I like how she got stumbled up because of the pod.
Yeah.
No. How did you?
Oh, you obviously didn't read Reaching New Worlds very carefully. I expected better of you, Nikita. I smirked, a sight which I was worried would make Nikita attack me right then and there. Her 2 least favorite things, being wrong and me.
Fuck. Ugh.
Nikita stomped her foot onto one of the candles, crushing it. She was getting dangerously angry.
So, Miss Knight is in league with you, too. How am I surprised? She will get what's coming to her. This is my destiny, Trixie. It was foretold.
She lifted the king in yellow above her head dramatically.
Your crystal is powerless against him. He chose me, Trixie, above everyone else. Crystal or not, the gate will open, and you will pay for your treachery.
I'm sorry, Nikita, but I'm not so sure the king has chosen you. I pulled the mask out of my bag and held it aloft for Nikita to see. You've been betrayed, Nikita. The king chose me. The mask had come to me indirectly, but that didn't make it any less my right, even if I didn't want it. Nikita laughed at me. She didn't seem convinced. Then a brief flutter in her expression as her eyes focused on the grim visage. In that moment, I knew. She recognized the mask.
Oh, great king, this can't be, Smith. How did you?
Her face broke into a blend of fear and betrayal.
I was lied to.
She fell to her knees. Tears streamed between her fingers. And are you forgetting, Nikita? It was me who was given the play. You had to beg me to give it to you.
Trixie, you're the one he chose. None of his whispers were true. He played me like an instrument. Like Carcosa, I have been shamed, my vanity taken and crushed. Trixie,
She broke down into tears. Despite everything, I pitied her.
Finish the ritual. Take your place atop the broken throne. But show me mercy, I beg of you.
I'm not taking the throne, Nikita. I don't want it. And I think deep down, neither do you. Let's just go back and get some rest. We can pretend this never happened. Obviously that wouldn't happen, but I wanted to keep her calm. It looked like this terrible week was finally coming to a close.
But the...
She pointed meekly at the mask. I looked down at it. Its ruby eye seemed to glow, a promise of decadence and power beyond the white gate. Inlaid symbols speaking unknowing secrets into my mind. For a moment I considered that maybe this truly was my destiny.
Oh, will it give us a choice?
Was this mask always meant to fall into my hands? The walls of the basement glowed brightly with the yellow sign. And I almost felt it was a sign from the king. Nikita's ritual may have been a foolish and pointless endeavor, but maybe I could find a way to take the throne. Making Nikita my underling would be almost poetic. And yet, the walls were blank. I knew I was a nobody. I wouldn't have been chosen. This had all been a game for the king in yellow, maybe even less. We were nothing to him. We can destroy it, the play too. It's all evil, Nikita. Just look what it's done to us. Let's get back to uni, okay?
Uni? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, okay, Trixie.
I slept well that night. Me and Nikita intend to burn the king in yellow as soon as I finish writing this statement. Yeah?
Oh, is that the statement we're writing on everything?
When I suggested torching the play, I was worried she might snap back into her mania and try to stop me. But she had nothing to say. It was like being outsmarted had totally crushed any desire Nikita had to keep up her mad charade. I'm pretty sure she'll be back to her old self once the election comes along, for better or for worse. Still, she seems to have developed some small amount of modesty, and I swear I can see a hint of respect for me in her eyes, which I'm not entirely sure I like. It's uncanny. I've managed to keep Nikita distracted with her election work. I told her not to write my report. I wanted to do it myself. Hence why I'd appreciate some more time to finish it. I've been swatting off worried calls from Heidi for the last 2 days. I think she knows something is up, but as soon as I submit this form, I'm going to meet up with her. I shall not speak to her of the king in yellow. That's a secret between me, Nikita, and you. I still need to talk to her about our experience with the matted figure. I have so many questions about that night. About the matted figure, about sheep, and our world's forgotten past. When I remember the knowing, plotting smirk that cruel figure gave us before it left the shop, my heart fills with a dread matched only by one thing. What I read, inside, the king in yellow. Despite everything, I have to admit there is still a temptation to open it, to finish reading The King in Yellow.
What the fuck?
Damn,
that's good. Oh, I really like that.
Yeah, that was fun.
I gotta wonder, are there like... There have to be like other, Oh, more. Oh, whoops, hold on.
Great, I'm done. But it seems like we could very well have ended up not having those items.
Exactly. And like, definitely we could have like, what the fuck was Greg doing there?
Yeah, I don't know.
With his box mat, with their box, I'm sorry, with their box mask.
And what is the entire plot with Belle?
Yeah. Because she's the, Belle goes up to the lake, right?
Yeah. I just need to take this down to the office and I can start work.
Trixie, show me your statement immediately. Just realized I'm relying on you not to get me expelled with whatever you wrote on this thing.
Geez, Nikita, how did you get in here? The door. Oh, that's cool.
The door, Trixie. Wait, what is this? Why are your walls covered in writing?
Oh, huh. I hadn't noticed that.
Excuse me, what the fuck? Whatever, Trixie, either you've lost the plot or this is one of those mays you like that I just don't get. Also, the word limit on that form is like 300. Look, Trixie, I respect that you've actually put some effort into something for once in your life, but as well as being written on the walls, this is way too long. What a waste of time. You can clean it up and I'll write you a less shit statement. One that will actually get read and not get us arrested in the process, because no way have you held back from talking shit about me. Just say you had trouble working this week because your albinism made working during the heat wave difficult. There, saved you 50,000 words. We really wrote our statement over the walls and said,
Oh, okay, Nikita. Well, time to get to work. Just as soon as I finish reading all the new Cyber Dracula reboot theories online.
I feel like we very narrowly avoided getting a much more stressful ending.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, so we played this blind. Like we literally did not look up anything about it going into it. So I feel like we might have accidentally lucked out into an ending that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.